Unfortunately,
the
they
frog.
did de-Kermit. They de-glove the Kermit. Yeah.
Just raw dog in that Kermit.
But I think that's the thing. Hey everybody, my name's John.
I'm Bob. He's Bi.
They're Butch.
And together we are the Butch and the Bi.
And this week, we watched a story of sisters figuring out what it's like to be alive.
We watched a story of a plot, helpful cat that probably isn't magic.
We saw a story of a fanboying a little too hard. James, do you have anything to add?
We saw a continuation of my childhood 30 years later.
Wow. We watched Hocus Pocus 2. Un, deux, trois? No? And we're joined this week
de Hocus.
by probably, other than my mother, the person who enjoys Hocus Pocus 1 the most.
Yes.
James Jamison. Should I add the M in there?
That's just really on my Facebook to differentiate me from Jim L. Jamison, who is my dad.
Oh, okay. There we go. Wow, that's
don't go look at his Facebook. It's full of
not Hocus Pocus related things.
There's nothing Hocus Pocus on his Facebook at all.
None of our father's Facebook accounts are worth looking at. Please.
I think I'm marked as can't view. I'm not blocked, but I'm not
I've
visible.
done it the other way. I have hidden my father from my feed, and the times that I do to go to his page, I instantly regret it. So
90% of the time, if I'm getting political on Facebook, it's usually after a conversation with my father. So it's very targeted. Yeah.
But this is the man who took me to see my first R-rated movie in theaters at the age of 6. I've told the story a million times.
What was your first R-rated movie?
The Craft.
Oh, mine was Night of the Living Dead didn't have a rating, so mine was Child's Play. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Fun.
And I thank him forever and ever and ever for that, for instilling a further love of witches in me.
The gayest witch movie.
I did not get to see Hocus Pocus 1 in theaters. In fact, I was mad that my parents went to see it in theaters without me because they went to see it for their anniversary, July 1993. Hocus Pocus 1 came out in the middle of July. Not a Halloween movie. It was a summer flop.
Yeah.
Which is why I own 3 copies of it on Blu-ray. I have the regular Blu-ray. I have the anniversary edition Blu-ray, which comes with the We Heart Hocus Pocus pop-up music video edition of the movie, which is a lot of fun, and then the 4K Blu-ray. And it's really fun putting the regular Blu-ray in, just seeing what it looks like, and then you put the 4K Blu-ray in, and you see how it's just crisp.
Do you have a
clear.
4K TV?
I do.
Okay. See, that's the next big toy I need to buy.
If you want to watch some 4K movies, come on over.
Every time we go to Walmart and they got those giant TVs out, John's like, hey.
so hard. I could ogle at many things.
He chooses large
I choose
TVs.
large TVs. I like big TVs and I cannot lie. We watched Hocus Pocus 2, which is on Disney Plus. It's streaming now. It came out earlier this month. When did it come out?
It came out on Friday.
On Friday, great. Friday last week. So by the time you're hearing this, 2 Fridays ago. And we enjoyed it, I think.
Yes, that was my third viewing of it.
Your third viewing. Yes. I can't. We did not get a chance to rewatch Hocus Pocus 1 this week, but I've seen it multiple times. Have you seen it more than once?
I've seen it once while living with James.
Right. Okay. So recent enough.
Yeah, no, I went into my memory banks and I pulled up the pictures that I had saved from it. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was directed by Anne Fletcher, written by Jen D'Angelo, David Kirshner, and Blake Harris. Ooh, fun. And it starred of the original cast, Bette Midler, Sarah Jessica Parker, Kathy Najimy.
Mm-hmm.
Great, got that. And playing Billy Butcherson, Doug Jones. Joining that cast because no one else from the original movie shows up, and it's kind of heartbreaking. I'm disappointed. They're not like Andy in the Chucky movies where he just shows up as some sort of weird doll hunter.
As if we needed that.
Yeah, we needed more characters in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
We needed all the characters. We needed the Avengers in this movie. Where was Scarlet Witch? That's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Where is
She's
that?
beried in a mountain. You know that.
Fair. Spoilers. Joining the cast is Whitney Peak, playing the main character, Becca. I'm going to screw this up. Belissa Escobedo. Great, as Izzy, her little friend, and Leela Buckingham as their other friend, Cassie. We also had Sam Richardson as the current keeper of the Sanderson house at the museum, and kind of a little pain in the ass this movie, as Gilbert. And I love this man whenever he plays someone that has to be like suburban man interacting with teens. It's Tony Hale, who was the principal in Love, Simon. And this is very much the same exact
And was
character.
also, was it Job in, no, it wasn't Job. What was his name? In Arrested Development.
Oh, he's one of the brothers, yeah.
Yes, it wasn't Job.
He's the one
Yeah,
that gets
no,
the claw
he's-
hand, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You're
He's the
thinking
weird one.
you're thinking that because it's Gob, right? Because he's
It might be
Yes.
Gob.
because it's a play on Jeb Bush because the whole family is.
Oh, is that
Mir-
true? Are they
Yeah.
all a play on the bushes?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. It's weird that I didn't know that. Then again, I've only watched like 3 episodes of Arrested Development.
Mm-hmm.
He has done so much voice acting.
Yes.
Holy hell. He was in Clifford the Big Red Dog.
Which I still haven't seen. I don't know if I'm going to. I'm going to need to be drunk when I watch that movie.
Fair. He was in so many things. He was in the new Twilight Zone for an episode. That's cool. Still need to watch that.
I have not watched that yet.
Oh, right. He's also the voice of Forky. We'll leave it on that. That's the highlight of his career. Is
I am trash. I am trash.
I am trash.
The ultimate millennial character bait.
Yes.
I am trash.
And the ultimate Gen Xer bait, turned millennial bait, is, I guess, the original Hocus Pocus, right? I feel like everybody has seen the first Hocus Pocus movie at least once.
Yes.
So, James, as someone that is an avid fan, I would say someone that probably could do line by line shadow casting.
So, in middle school, I can tell you for a fact that I hated gym class. Trust me, this is going somewhere Hocus Pocus related. I would stand in the outfield with my friend Nathan, and we would reenact Hocus Pocus instead of paying attention to where the ball was coming.
Did you get bullied in school?
A little bit.
Okay. Yeah, that checks out. I mean, I didn't have friends, so I didn't do that. I just twirled around a lot when playing sports. I was like, oh, cool, I can do spins. I was like, my body can move.
I have enough space to spin around versus my tiny little bedroom.
Yeah, hi, Sandy. Glad you're moving.
Yeah,
Yes.
Nathan would usually play like Winifred, and then I would be Sarah and Mary, and he would like shove me into the Black River. Tis firm as stone, firm as stone, firm as stone. So there were my thoughts on
Yeah, as someone, before we get into this, the
the
new
nitty
movie,
gritty.
Yeah, what, as someone that enjoyed the original very much, do you think that this was a sequel worth having? Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it as much as the original?
I think I've been enjoying it more every time I sit down and watch the sequel, because the first and second time I was a little critical about like certain things. And I know when I watched it for the first time, friends were like, ugh, this one musical number is a little rough. We're coming right out of the gate with this. But it was fun. It was not as dark as the fan fiction sequel I have in my head that I may still write. But I still had a lot of fun with it. It is... Bette Midler never brings more than 1,000%. Less than 1,000%. Sorry. Never brings
She
less than 1,000%.
does go over 1,000.
Yes. Which is why my close friend Jude, we can still be friends, but they hate Hocus Pocus. They're like, why does Bette Midler have to be just so
Bette Midler?
Bette Midler and everything
Yeah.
she's in? I'm like, because she's Bette Midler. But I'm like, Jude, we can still be friends. I still love you.
Hey, Jude. That's all I have for that. Yeah, okay. So you enjoyed it.
Yes.
There are a couple of things. So let's get, I guess, your criticisms, if we will, out of the way, because I know there were a couple that came up during the movie, and I have one fun fact about something in the movie that I want to share, and I don't know if you know it.
Okay, share.
Okay, so Catherine and Jimmy.
Najimi. I said Najimi for years and years and years and years, but I have heard her introduced by like press as Kathy Najimy, and I'm like, okay, I've been pronouncing it wrong forever.
Mary Sanderson.
Yes.
The brown-haired sister. She, so in the original movie, her little lip thing was in the opposite direction than this movie, and the way they justified it, I don't know if you both remember,
Is
the
a
very
slap.
hard slap in the Walgreens.
Because it's just facial exhaustion. She can't do it for long periods of time on that side of her face anymore.
Yeah.
And that is nothing that really bothered me. That is not the thing
not at
the
all.
thing
But I found it interesting.
the single thing in the movie that I hated and I disagreed with entirely was a shot of people watching Hocus Pocus in the movie. Because what kind of lore are you building where the events of the first movie happened, but there's also a movie about it? And so it's just some wibbledy meta fourth wall breaking. And I'm like, that is the one thing in the movie I 100% disagreed with.
It's very silly. Also, unfortunately, we've been watching Chucky, so my brain, not unfortunately, I can enjoy it, but unfortunately that has specifically ruined that because Jennifer Tilly is Jennifer Tilly, and the movie happened in universe. So now my brain is broken for movies happening in their own universe.
That's purposefully meta.
That's
but
a little
this
bit
is
different.
they're trying to build a specific kind of lore, and when you break away and you see those things, it's like, who was actually there to see it, and does the movie really exist, and does Winifred exist, but also Bette Midler exists?
The constant question with anything like that. This is the thing that I have in a lot of media, is whenever there's something like, okay, there's these characters and they mention something else, and I'm like, what all exists in your world? Because you're a main character in one of these giant franchises. Do people just say like, damn, you look a lot like Elijah Wood, and this character's like, yep, I know.
So there was a lot of anachronism in the first movie, but at least it was fun anachronism or whatever. But the problem with, and this will be a quick tangent and then we're not going to talk about that movie, the Munsters the new Rob Zombie Munsters lives in such an ambiguous time period that everything is anachronistic and it doesn't know when it wants to be. So
if it wants to take advantage of being filmed in modern era, or if it's set in the original era.
But maybe we'll talk about that movie sometime, because I'd love to dive into that.
See,
but
I want the very Brady movies. If you've ever seen the Brady Bunch movies and the very Brady sequel.
I'm going to literally pick the sequel up from the library this week.
Oh my! Have you ever seen it?
I've seen them on TV, and I've seen them in bits, but I sat down and watched the Brady movie with my housemate.
They're iconic and they handle it very well.
But that is so, like, it's a certain level of absurdity and a level of self-awareness where Hocus Pocus knew what it was making, knew what the audience wanted, knew who its audience was, and all that. But the one thing I was looking forward to is, like, John Debney's doing the film score again, and I would say that the film score was very, very lazy. They literally just used all. Okay, so back in the day, there was something called SoulSeek, and it was a peer-to-peer file sharing thing. This is probably 2003, 2004. It took me a week and a half of yes. Actually, I had LimeWire at the same time, but SoulSeek was better for LimeWire was good for single songs. SoulSeek was good for entire albums.
Gotcha.
So it took me a week and a half, 2 weeks to download the Hocus Pocus film score. And so I've listened to that film score many, many, many times. So I know all of the beats of it. So when you're hearing the score to your favorite movie laid over a new movie, like the scene at the end after, spoilers, and I didn't even think of it this way until you mentioned, but Winifred literally Thanos' her sisters, it brings in the sad music, and I'm like, no, Winifred is evil. You don't get me to feel sad by playing the sad music from the first movie. So I just feel like they put the Hocus Pocus 1 soundtrack CD in while they were editing the film, and were like, what music are we going to put where? I mean, it's a good score still.
I think, and that's the interesting thing too, because so it's my understanding that there was actually in the works before this was confirmed to be in production, before they finally finalized it and got it.
Because they didn't know exactly who they were going to get. Once they found out, like, oh, we can't have that cast member, we need to rewrite this section.
Well, and so they were originally working on, for Freeform, which was originally ABC Family, they were doing a made-for-TV remake of Hocus Pocus, and that got canceled the second that Hocus Pocus 2 finally went into actual production.
You
but
can't
apparently
remake Hocus Pocus.
You can't, no, because the sisters, and I think that's the thing, is the sisters are the highlight, much like any Halloween horror movie.
Nobody cares about the side characters, and actually, I will say that the first time I watched it, I cared more about the side characters in the first movie. I didn't entirely care about Cassie in this movie, because it's like, oh, we used to be friends with her and we aren't anymore. Something I mentioned after the first time I watched it is, I feel if it had been expanded into a 6-part miniseries, the relationship between the 3 girls would have been stronger, and the backstory of the witches when they were younger, that a lot of things would feel less rushed, because it felt like, oh, we're going to do the spell. My sisters are gone. Why didn't Winifred sort of like try to like wield her power without them? Like, you have this power and you can, but her villain turn there where she's like, oh, I care about my sisters. And like, you hated your sisters. Why was I cursed with such idiot sisters? Just lucky, I guess. But she just turns and she's like, I need my sisters. Please, Spellbook, please.
To be
Is there
fair,
anything you can do?
That's the same exact situation as Thanos and Gamora, because it's an abuser who loves someone. Because to them, they do love that person. They're just horrible. Bob, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine.
Great. Do you have any thoughts?
I very much enjoyed this movie.
I did too. I just talk.
Yeah, no, totally fair. I was also like, this is not super true to her character, but it works thematically for the whole thing. And first off, huge shout out to the little actresses who played the young sisters. So excellent, delightful. I was like, oh, those are kids who are nerds about this and they're having the time of their life.
And that I took the Lord's name in vain. Twice.
It's just, I love seeing kids get to play really goofy characters, because so often kids are like, you're trying to like play this naturalistic role and it comes off really weird because kids are like trying to figure out how to be both natural and acting is like, that's a thing you learn over time. And just like getting to see kids be goofy, like, yes, just let kids be goofy and don't expect them to be super.
Gosh.
Yes, let a child play goofy goof.
Look, Disney's been casting some goobers for their main characters. Have you heard Kermit lately? Doesn't sound like Kermit the Frog.
No,
not at all.
And that's why people keep saying, like, Disney, stop remaking movies. Just make them with the Muppets. Why don't you do that? And it's like, because Disney already ruined the Muppets.
Unfortunately, they did de-Kermit. They de-gloved the Kermit. Just
raw dogging that Kermit.
But I think that's the thing, is the position they were in with this movie was, again, it's everybody's mom's favorite Halloween movie kind of thing. Like, that's what this movie is, like, realistically. And so they knew that because it's Disney and they're playing the numbers game, they had to hit a certain
diversify.
That, and then they also had to hit a number of beats that were basically remaking the original. And this is the thing, we've seen it with Scream, we've seen it with Chucky,
with Mary Poppins Returns. I will say that upon rewatching it, I get to it's a slog to rewatch. It's not as engaging. Hocus Pocus 2, I was like on my third rewatch, still laughing and still like pulled in. So I would say, as a sequel to a movie I adore, I was far more disappointed in Mary Poppins Returns.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's the thing about this, is the idea of the Sanderson sisters being a thing that it's like their whole thing in the first movie was being fish out of water in modern era. So being able to do that again works because it's been so many years since the original that you have, like, Mary rides around, instead of on just a regular like push vacuum, on 2 Roombas that then also like do things for the plot, like in very funny, cute
boobies,
ways.
They hate mess.
Yeah. Like they save them from a salt circle at one point.
They save them from assault.
Oh my god. Amazing. Roombas saving women from assault since now. But yeah, I think they had to hit a number of beats. I think they hit them in ways that were new and unique and fun. And like, it's definitely like, that's the same thing from the first movie, but it's done in a way that I'm not groaning at it.
The dialogue of the witches across the board was on point.
It's very consistent with the original. Yeah.
Sarah Jessica Parker says she does not watch her old movies at all, and she only rewatched Hocus Pocus before this movie to make sure she could get the voice and the mannerisms right. And I think across the board they all did wonderfully.
Yeah.
Like, there are friends of mine that have like criticized, like, I don't think she got that. No, I think the characterization and the acting was pretty on point. But I had a much darker sequel in my head.
Yeah. Well, and that's, I mean, because they're witches, but and they're
Disney,
eating children,
and you were going for that PG, and that's why I'm like, should I take this sequel idea and just take it so far away from the source material that I can actually produce it?
It's definitely, I think this too shows a lot of like, I think there was layered in here the movie about the kids. There was a movie about these kids that they had from another script, and they made it work with, okay, we want to do Hocus Pocus 2. Oh, look, which kid's the script? Great, let's merge the two. And I think it
the 3 main leads in a TV series where they're practicing magic and such. But this is another rule-breaking thing from the first movie that, like, stay out of there. Nothing good can come from that book. Winifred Sanderson keeps her most evil spells in there. But then, like, in the sequel, like, oh no, we can actually use that book against the witches.
Well, to be fair, think about the narrator who's telling them it's dangerous. It's someone who was affected by the book.
Yes.
So that's not
okay.
Yeah, it's not like the narrator of the movie said it. It was someone who has a reason to be biased against it. So I think that works. I also think what works really well is Hannah, what is it, Waddingham, who is Rebecca.
Apparently that was almost going to be Cher, but based on the budget of what all the different actors were paid, there's no way they could have gotten Cher to do that.
I'm glad they got Hannah Waddingham. Disney's been slowly collecting all of the Ted Lasso cast. They had, who plays Brett?
It's Brett Goldstein who plays.
Oh, right. I always mix up his real name with the fake name. Brett Goldstein plays Hercules in the Thor movie as like a post thing, and they're slowly collecting them all. But she plays, and I realized what it might have been because we talked about this when we were watching the movie, she calls her mother, and I realized it was like calling her their witch mother, like their birth as a witch, and that's why they were calling her mother. But she was delightful in the very short scene. Or if
it's a drag queen sense, they call me mother.
There were some delightful drag queen.
Yes.
Sandersons.
How did we feel about because this was the I Put a Spell on You.
Yes.
Reboot.
Anne Fletcher, for context, was one of the choreographers on the original Hocus Pocus.
Oh.
So
that's why we got 2 songs.
Yes. When they kept saying musical numbers, I'm like, thank you for giving me more than one. Which actually the first movie sort of had 2 musical numbers because he had Spell on You and Come Little Children, which is sort of a Santa, into the night, bring the little rats to die and all that. But the original director, who the names are literally flying out of my head. I have the DVD here. I can look. Blu-ray. Kenny Ortega, who went on to direct such classics as High School Musical. Yeah. The reason why he couldn't do Hocus Pocus 2 is because he is busy getting Disenchanted.
Oh, is he working on the sequel? Yeah, okay, there we go. Disney.
And another movie of Enchanted, of a movie where when you find out what they were trying to build and what we actually got.
I think that's the thing I've been noticing with a lot of Disney movies from that era, because another one that is very much like scrapped together is The Emperor's New Groove.
I love that movie. I love the documentary about that movie.
Yep, the whole thing of just they basically wrote the script after the movie because they needed a script, and it's like, here you go. We had it the whole time. Isn't it perfectly lined up with exactly what we did? Look, there's a typo here to tell you. We totally wrote it beforehand. No, I love that. And I think that's the thing, is that was much more, because it was the Disney Renaissance era. It was right at the beginning of the Disney Renaissance and then going through it. And then they hit their point after the Disney Renaissance where Disney has become much more commercial at that point. And I do think we're looping.
Disney doesn't try any risks.
I think that is the thing with Disney Plus right now, is that it is giving them the wiggle room to get people to do a little bit more creative stuff. I think they are still being Disney about things, but I think they are taking some more risks. In general, I think to the inclusion of them starting to focus on more mature content through like the Marvel stuff and getting the Netflix Marvel stuff in, kind of does tell me, okay,
I don't care about Marvel. Give me more witches.
Now, well, Scarlet Witch is there. Think about her.
One of the things that got me into that series was like, ooh, we've got sitcom satire commentary and then witches. I was like, thank you.
Yeah. So I think they're now in an era again where they're exploring a little bit more. That being said, boy almighty, why does this movie have better VFX than the last 3 Marvel projects?
Oh my God. Okay, so the VFX were great. So working in a planetarium and at a space-themed museum soon, I will say that the size and positioning of the moon was decorative and beautiful, but completely inaccurate.
You mean the moon doesn't always float directly behind whoever's talking?
Yes.
Oh, weird.
And it's not that big.
I think they pulled off the perfect color palette in the forest, though. Like, they mimicked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just saying the moon is not that big. I was agreeing with you.
We're going to stare at Bob until they say things.
The VFX were, I think, fantastic. We opened the movie with a similar over water shot, which I appreciated. So there were beats that were mimicked. There was the character of Cassie who wore a tie-dye shirt, who lived in a house with windows very similar to the house that Allison lived in the first movie.
Yeah, it had not a dissimilar layout too. Like the stairs were a bit different, but like the general entryway sort of area was not dissimilar
because it was Rhode Island and not actually Salem. The first movie was actually shot in Salem.
Are you telling me they cheated?
They did.
Those bastards.
It's too expensive to film in Salem now.
Is that because of the witches?
Yeah.
Witch taxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're taxing the rich people.
They're tax the witch.
Tax the witch. Eat the witch, tax the rich. So that was the thing too, is they had that opening scene with the kids, which I really liked, because like it definitely is like a little more historically like, yeah, they were kids being forced to get married and like all that. Like, no shit, they were witches because nobody liked the fact that they weren't obedient. Yeah, but then also that still doesn't excuse the like you said at the end of the movie, them trying to make her good. But what I did enjoy is that for the majority of the movie, they were, I think, a little more brutal.
I'm so glad, and I mentioned during the movie, I'm so glad Disney got away with the line, "Say hello to Satan for me."
Yeah. Yeah, that first hit that she gave Mary in the Walgreens, I was like, damn, I felt that. It's not something I was expecting from this movie. But yeah.
They stabbed that girl in the gut.
They did stab that girl in the gut. Oh my God.
Wait, what?
Bob?
When the sacrifice, they're doing the ritual, they get the blood from her. They're like,
oh no, they slashed her neck.
They just sliced right here.
Yeah, they did like a little fingernail scratch.
Yeah, it wasn't like Goblet of Fire where it's like blood of thy enemy.
Are you thinking of when the main character got shot by Winifred? Shot, I say very loosely. No.
Oh yeah, she like sparked her in the stomach.
Yeah.
And then there's the moment where Mary and Sarah both realize that they can do sparks, and they're like, "Wee, pew 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 pew."
I like that Mary very much had 6 shooters for her spells. Yeah. I did like that they kind of made distinctions between the 3 and the way their magic presents.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it was very fun. I did like, so the core group very much reminded me of some of the Chilling Adventures vibes. And actually, the actress that plays the main character, she is the daughter of the villain from Sabrina the Teenage Witch in the third, or the whatever the third part is, the way they did that structuring.
I dropped off in the middle of the 4th part because speaking of like reboots and darkified versions of things I grew up with, I'm sorry, Sabrina, but you let me down.
It just went downhill so fast.
Oh my God.
The first season was great.
It was like coasting in the first season, and then it was further downhill in the second season, and then it was just.
Yeah. Do you have any more thoughts about the movie, Bob? As you have said, not much.
I have not said much because I've mostly just been agreeing with both of you who've had more enthusiastic takes. I did not see the original movie as a child. I saw it recently. I enjoyed it. I saw this movie. I enjoyed it. And then I'm just sat between 2 very enthusiastic men. And I also, my back hurts, and so I was enjoying
You're just enjoying back and being an audience? Yeah,
yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You've covered the things that I've said the things. My main things were just love those kid actors, and yeah,
good kid actors.
Like nobody was a bad actor in this movie.
Well, the witches were. I mean, they were bad actors.
I mean, over the top, sort of. But
Bette Midler was Bette Midlering. That's very over the top.
Her top is different than other people's top.
Yes.
Oh, so other people's bottoms?
Her bottom is other people's tops.
Who is Bette Midler bottoming for?
And what is this witch orgy that I was not invited to?
This is the 3rd movie. It's on AO3. It's available now.
So I would say the first, like going through like the other little bits in the movie that just like brought me so much joy. Thank you, Disney, for giving us alternate Walt Disney Castle openings. Because I'm pretty sure the original Hocus Pocus had the... Did it have the Disney logo like that?
I think it had the blue background.
Yeah.
It was
like the classic 90s Disney Castle. But this one had the bum, bum, bum. And I was like, I screamed and like pounded my fist on the bed while I was watching. So I watched Hocus Pocus 2 the day it came out. But I had a dilemma because I was like, where are we going to watch it? Because the day it came out, I was traveling to DC with friends of mine to go see the B-52s. So I'm so glad that while I was watching Hocus Pocus 2, that the B-52s was featured in the movie.
Yeah.
The B-52s were lovely. But I was like laying in bed watching it in the hotel with them. And after the castle did the spooky thing, I was like, yes! And they're like, shh. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm getting real excited.
So excited. Well, I'm curious to see if they use a not dissimilar version of that for Werewolf by Night. And you'll probably like that because Marvel's next thing is Werewolf by Night. I think it's like a 1 hour special. It's their Halloween special. And it is a kind of like a not reimagining. It's their take on the Universal monsters. So it's black and white. It's got much more campier acting. It's focused on Elsa Bloodstone, which is a cool thing.
I'm intrigued.
Yes.
I mean, well, because, sorry to go back to it, but Rob Zombie wanted monsters to be black and white, but Universal pushed for color.
Here, I didn't think Universal was pushing for anything for a Monsters reboot. Who would have thought they would have been involved at all?
Yeah.
The way I perceived that movie getting produced was very much like Rob Zombie pestered Universal until they finally said, yeah, fine, whatever, go make your movie. And that's why it was direct to DVD in the same way that the Chucky movies, like The Curse and Cult of Chucky, were direct to DVD.
But I still haven't seen Curse, but Cult was so much better than a made-for-TV movie should have been. Or a direct to DVD. Like, Curse was so good, but I haven't seen Cult.
Are you talking about the one in the creepy house?
Yes, with his daughter in the wheelchair.
I almost kicked you out of this house. I thought you were saying that Cult was better, and
no.
We don't have kind things to say Cult.
I haven't seen Cult.
Good.
But I want to see it because of things that are involved in it that tie into the TV series, and I'm a
Watch
completionist.
the last 5 minutes.
Okay.
It's really, really bad. Anyways, but Curse of Chucky is amazing.
Excellent.
Yeah, Curse to me is the first horror movie in the recent years that did the soft reboot thing where it kept the canon, but it still like brought it back to its roots. Curse was amazing. I watched that like 4 times when it came out.
And then found out that that's his daughter.
Yeah.
And
yeah. Okay, so closing thoughts on Hocus Pocus 2.
I don't think they are going to release it on Blu-ray because of what they paid the cast and the whole exclusively on Disney Plus thing. I want them to hello kitty. There's a kitty on my knee. I want them to release it on Blu-ray just for potential commentary and to make my shelf look nice.
So I do have good news for you. Several of the direct to Disney Plus movies have been released on physical media, usually about a year after the release. So there is a good chance you'll get that. Now, the chances of me getting the Marvel TV shows on Blu-ray anytime soon, I'm shit out of luck, and I'm just gonna have to make custom boxes to fill my collection out. But yeah, no, it's sorry. Last episode, loyal listeners may be aware that the cat jumped up on the keyboard and stopped the recording. So now that she's in the room, I'm just keeping an eye on it.
You see like
This is
shadows of
Juju.
cat floating around.
Oh, it's Juju? Okay.
Juju is not an evil monster like Squeaky's.
Okay, so I won't
hates
punt.
audio recording.
So yeah, okay, cool. Well, yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. I think it was, I think for people that wanted a sequel, great, it's there. I would have lived without a sequel to Hocus Pocus, but I think it was much better than it had any right being, given that it's Disney.
Yeah. We'll probably watch both of them every year now. Which somebody posted that they were doing Hocus Pocus double feature, and in my head I heard Hocus Pocus double feature with like Bette Midler's lips.
Oh my god, just teeth out. And then we will say though, however, and I think we're going to be doing this every time we cover a Disney thing, Bob, because I feel like we have to. Hey, support the artists that make these things, and so if you start seeing unions pop up for VFX artists, don't be a shit and be like, why are they unionizing? Because they give us the good entertainment, they give us the fun entertainment, and I hate that I enjoy the Marvel stuff so much. But if you're going to enjoy Disney content, make sure you're supporting all of the people that make it. And make sure that, hey, whatever you can do, sign petitions, do all of those things as they crop up. Because I guarantee you, we're going to see a strike like we did in 2008 with the writers anytime now.
Yeah.
It's overdue.
And we're going to have movies released and everything is just going to be green backdrops.
It's going to be like if you ever got the pre-screener of X-Men Origins Wolverine, if you ever got around that cycle, that was when we ended up with. And let me tell you, watching a bunch of white
are unfinished.
Yeah, very
Wait,
unfinished.
They didn't edit out the buttholes?
They had to keep the buttholes. That was actually in Hugh Jackman's contract, and it's going to be in his contract for.
That's a reference to Cats, if you weren't aware of the butthole edit.
What's Cats?
Cats?
What's Cats?
2019, the musical.
I'm sorry, I'm not.
Okay, so there was originally the 2019 film Cats, the musical.
I've only heard of the Broadway show.
A butthole edit.
What is this movie you speak of?
I hate you.
I know. Inhumans was a great TV show. I'm kidding. Bob, do you have any closing thoughts on your existence? I mean, this movie.
Closing.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Nobody pays me enough to sit here and edit in us particling away, Bob.
Okay, I will say, I'm sorry, we keep asking Bob about things, so then I've got like one more thing. These are my last thoughts of like the lines of Sarah's that I loved. She turned into leaves and the wind is stealing my fingers. Anyway.
It was such a dramatic moment, and then she said that.
The wind is stealing my fingers.
It's so funny. It's such a good line. Closing thoughts on my existence. I had way too many unfinished projects, and I don't appreciate that. Goodbye, everybody.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, James, for being on the podcast. Is there anything you'd like to promote while you're here?
Come and check out the new Moonshot Museum, which opens in the North Side on October 15th, because I am a museum navigator there, and it is my cool new dream job.
If you're in the Pittsburgh area or looking for something to do in the Pittsburgh area, check that out. Also, they should check you out on what social media platform to keep up with your music.
I am on Instagram as Punburger. All of my music is currently just on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/the James Jamison. I'm working on getting it all on Spotify, but Spotify is kind of evil. I'm working on getting a website, but time and energy and such.
Yes.
But yeah, I have a very, very busy month. If you get to see me this month, you are a lucky person because I am just a blur on my way to the next thing that I have to be at.
Yeah. Throw a dart at a calendar and you'll likely see James at the arcade. That's a good bet. There's nothing, we don't have any shows up this month other than the one year. Yeah. So, okay, cool. That's everything. Thanks. Bye.
Butch.
James.
Yes.